We see that after the camera zooms in on the central star, a significant and meaningful progression begins. First, the central star itself comes into view. Then we see Tommy sitting in a meditative posture. After a moment, he rises and, by creating a kind of ink, begins tattooing his body. At the end of the film, it is revealed that these tattoos represent memories he shared with Izzi, and it is here that he utters the crucial line.
All these years, all these memories. There's been you.
Meanwhile, the bed on which Izzy lay during her illness appears beside the tree. As Tommy looks toward it, he is suddenly transported to the time when he was working on the cancer tumor in the laboratory. Instead of following Izzy out into the snow to leave that fleeting sacred moment, he turns toward his work. In the instant when the monitor displays the tumor, we realize that it looks exactly like the same central star, indicating that Theta 1 in Orion Belt or Xibalba has manifested. From the central star to the laboratory, transition from linear time to psychological time. In this sequence, we encounter the same recurring structure and pattern already present in two previous narrative layers. In all three, the struggle of Tommy repeats itself. In the third layer, the celestial dimension, Tommy is no longer dependent on earthly instruments. He exists in a meditative state, laying down his final attachment and grief, confronting the inevitability of death. When the camera zooms in on the central star, Theta 1 of the Orion constellation, it feels as though we are entering a meditative state ourselves. Theta, located just below Orion's belt and shining as its brightest southern point, is not merely a celestial object here. It becomes the focal point of Tommy's psychic cosmos. This zoom function like a descent into an inner psychological knot, one that remains unresolved, and around which the entire film revolves, a journey toward its release. Next, we see Tommy in deep meditation. His stillness signifies his entry into nonlinear psychological time. By crafting some kind of ink and tattooing his body, Tommy engaged in an act that transcends symbolism. He is inscribing sacred memory of Izzy onto his flesh. In doing so, he transforms linear time into an eternal moment and grounds emotional experience within the physical body. As noted earlier by the film's end, we understand that these tattoos serve as vessels of memory, the psyche literally etched upon the body. Then, within this meditative or visionary state, Izzy's bed suddenly materializes beside the tree of life. At this point, the boundaries between memory, fantasy, the unconscious, and the symbols dissolve. Everything merges. Izzy and the tree become one. She is simultaneously dying and eternal, embodied within the tree, a complete symbol of the anima's union with the tree of life. From this mystical unity, the film abruptly threw us back to the laboratory, back to the moment when Tommy in the past chose work over joining Izzy in the snow, over embracing the eternal present of living. This temporal dislocation embodies a repressed regret, the precise moment when Tommy devoted his life to denying death rather than living love. In that same moment, the laboratory monitor displays the cancerous mass, identical in the shape of the central star. This forms one of the film's most profound symbolic parallels. The tumor, emblem of decay and finitude, mirrors the star, emblem of immortality and renewal. The film here introduces a deeply philosophical notion that death and life, cancer and star, destruction and illumination are all expression of the same truth, perceived from two different vantage points. Layered synthesis. When the film zooms in on the central star, the image functions as a cosmic point, a locus within Tommy's unconscious that remains as an unresolved psychic knot. He then enters meditation and tattoos his body with ink, performing an act of immortalizing memory, transferring his shared moment with Izzi from the level of mind to that of the body, forging a union between the physical and the psychological. Soon after, Izzy's bed appears beside the tree of life, a visual statement that Izzy is not only dying, but simultaneously becoming eternal within the tree. Here, love and death converge into a single symbol. Yet the narrative abruptly shifts again to the laboratory, to the very moment when Tommy once chose work over life, rational control over emotional presence. This moment marks the central fracture in his process of individuation, where he prioritized mastery over experience and later faced the consequence of that choice. Finally, the laboratory monitor reveals the tumor, perfectly mirroring the same central star. This symbolic equivalence suggests that destruction and creation, mortality and rebirth, are merely two facets of one unified reality. The recurring imagery continues until liberation occurs, until Tommy answers the call to life itself, symbolized throughout the film by the snowplay invitation. That call repeats within his psyche, echoing like a dream motif, until he finally responds. This pattern closely resembles the structure of a dream. When we ignore inner phenomena or emotion, fears or desires, they return again and again in waking life, in dreams, or even within the body, until they acknowledged. In therapeutic terms, this means that as long as we flee from our emotions and anxieties, they will appear as nightmares, pain, or repetitive experience, not as punishment, but as pathway to healing. These symptoms seek our attention, carrying messages that must be recognized for genuine freedom to emerge. In the thought-provoking film, The Fountain, the Tree of Life is not merely a decorative element, but a symbolic nucleus that embodies profound concept of life, death, and cosmic unity across the three historical contexts. 16th century Spain, contemporary 21st century America, and extraterrestrial as an unknown future. These three, in all three temporal realms, act as an axis mundi, a fundamental concept in mythology that enables the connection of Earth, the material world, heaven, the transcendent realm, and the underworld. In the contemporary narrative, it's a multifaceted metaphor for Thomas' wife's cancer, his struggle to accept death, and his search for a cure. And in the cosmic realm, the tree is situated within a dying nebula, Xibalba, a sign of enduring life on a verge of cosmic annihilation. This temporal triad expands the tree's meaning on mythological, individual psychological, and cosmic ontological levels, emphasizing its role as a bridge between death and life. The indissoluble link between character of Izzi and the Tree of Life is one of the film's most subtle symbolic layers. Izzy is not only Thomas' spiritual inspiration, but also the creator of a story that centers the tree of life and death in its narrative. She embodies acceptance, feminine intuition, and profound awareness of the cycle of life. While Tommy initially resists this awareness with all his being, seeking physical triumph over death. This symbolic connection is a powerful reflection of the concept of the anima in Jungian psychoanalysis as the intuitive, creative, and feminine aspect of the male psyche. A key scene reveals this union in a poetic and nonverbal manner. When Tommy touches the tree trunk during Shibalba, with a feeling mixed with longing and love, this touch is immediately transferred to Izzy's body in her sickbed in the present time. This visual transference, beyond any dialogue, testifies to the truth that Izzy and the tree are two manifestations of a single truth. One is rooted in earthly soil and the other in the ash of eternal love, and the both are source of life, acceptors of death, and origin of rebirth. The film adds another layer to the tree's symbolism through the character of the Mayan priest in the historical narrative, known as the First Father. This priest offers himself as a sacrifice to the tree so that its life and knowledge may endure. This act of sacrifice, found in many Asian myths, represent a transition from one level of existence to a higher one, and a conscious self sacrifice for the continuation of the cycle of life. In stark contrast to this attitude, Tommy in contemporary narrative is determined to defeat death through science. However, his journey ultimately converges with that of the Mayan priest. By the end of the film, Tommy also learns the liberating acceptance of death as an inseparable part of cosmos and surrenders himself openly to the cosmic cycle. The Mayan priest can be interpreted as symbolizing the archetypal aspect of the animus, the masculine, meaning oriented, and transcendent aspect of the psyche in Izzy's figure. He is a wise shadow who has traversed this difficult path of acceptance before Tommy and has understood the truth of the cycle of life and death. Tommy's journey from the expulsion of Adam, an attempt to escape destiny, to the sacrifice of the first father signifies the ultimate evolution of his psyche. The deep connection with Zoroastrian mythology provides a rich framework for understanding the symbol of the tree of life in this film. In Zoroastrian tradition, the Gokaran tree or white home resides in the Vurukasha Sea and is considered the source of life and immortality. This sacred tree, like the tree of life in the fountain, plays a pivotal role in the cosmic cycle of death and life, and is inextricably linked to the concept of Farashokiriti, the final revelation and ultimate triumph of good over evil and immortality. Zoroaster, the prophet of this religion, can be compared to the Mayan priest's first father in the film. Both are bearers and promoters of transcendent knowledge that helps humans understand the truth of existence, their place in the cosmic cycle, and the true meaning of liberation. The Zoroastrian Gokaran tree, just like Aronofsky's tree of life, ultimately symbolizes a spiritual transformation and a spiritual resurrection, not merely endless physical immortality. This path of transformation is precisely what unfolds for Tommy, initially seeking material immortality, finding a cure for Izzy and himself, He ultimately attains the knowledge of immortality at the culmination of his journey, a knowledge that is nothing but the acceptance of death as a gateway to unity with the cosmos and spiritual transcendence. The fountain ultimately emphasizes these fundamental insight. Only when death accepted not as an end point but as an essential link in the infinite chain of existence does humanity achieve profound peace and transcendent insight. The tree of life, with its roots in the soil of earthly experience and its branches in the boundless heavens of spirituality, is a powerful symbol of this transcendent understanding. An experience that passes through suffering and despair but ultimately leads to awakening and union with cosmos. In this scene, we witness denial. However, in later scenes, when we are again in another earthly moment that combines past and future, we see Tommy, after drinking from the tree of life, becoming one with its roots and flowers. In the constructing scene, Tommy plants the seed Izzy left for him, and this transforms into the very moment Izzy picked the seed from the tree on the day Tommy didn't come out to play in the snow with her. After his maturation in the futile cycle of fighting death, the scene repeats. Izzy goes outside the lab, seemingly obvious to Tommy's renewed refusal to spend time with her, but at this moment a change occurs. Tommy follows Izzy and begins playing in the snow with her. As Jung states, if we refuse the path that the unconscious opens for us to overcome anxieties and complexes, it will repeat itself in our unconscious and conscious world until the passage occurs. Similarly, scenes in the film are repeated and mirrored over and over again until the rebirth after symbolic this is achieved for Tommy and indeed Izzy, and they celebrate their unity in the snow. Analytical summary of this sequence and implied conclusion. In Izzy's funeral scene, we are confronted with a eulogy from Tommy's friend and mentor that seems to take a holistic view of death. Death not as an end, but as a reaching of a kind of wholeness or grace. He considers Izzy a rare example, someone who was able to reconcile with death and reach perfection in her final days, a definition very close to concept of individuation in Jungian psychology. However, Tommy immediately rebels against this comforting narrative. He sees death as a disease and believes it must be cured. This reaction, in essence, symbolizes the ego's refusal to surrender to the archetype of death and accept loss. Using techniques such as repetition of scenes with semantic differences mirroring between past and future, and the interweaving of memory, dream, and reality, the film portrays a process that, according to Jung's theory, indicates the unconscious pressure to achieve psychological transformation. In a later scene, where Tommy drinks from the tree of life and somehow merges with it, his moment of symbolic death occurs. A moment where, with the full acceptance of Izzy's loss, the cycle of pain, resistance, and denial is broken. Continuing this metamorphosis, the very scene that caused Izzy pain in the past, Tommy's preference for laboratory work over accompanying Izzy, is reenacted. But this time, Tommy makes a different decision. He goes with Izzy to play in the snow. This simple action, in fact, symbolizes the acceptance of love, the present moment, and unity with natural life. This snow play is the end of the cycle of resistance and the beginning of another birth, the union of anima and animus. Ultimately, what the film demonstrates is the step by step realization of that opening line of the theology. We complete enough when we die to achieve a measure of grace, but not passively, rather through traversing denial, struggle, and inner metamorphosis. By going into the shadow, Tommy embraces not only Izzi but also his inner self, a self freed from the anxiety of mortality and the thirst for immortality.